Yes, we brought this up to the community 15 years ago, and we started in the year 2000 with a phase 2 study, and in the year 2003 we initiated a randomized comparison of bendamustine rituximab against CHOP rituximab, which was in the old days a standard treatment. And we have reported the results of that study in the plenary session ASCO 2012, so 5 years ago at the same meeting, and then published it in 2013. These final results focused on the difference on progression-free survival, showing that bendamustine rituximab had a much better disease control than CHOP rituximab in our data sets. However, many people debate if progression-free survival is really the perfect endpoint. Of course, we would like to see in the end the overall survival. But in this kind of disease, which is a low-grade or indolent lymphoma, you need much longer time to have a mature result for overall survival. So fortunately, we were able to present mature long-term results at this ASCO meeting.
I was about to say, which takes us to the 10-year survival data. If you could tell us more about that now.
Then we have presented here the 10-year median observation follow-up for the survival data. This was an investigator-initiated study group. So we still have contact to the study sites, which is a big advantage. Sometimes the study is closed and then you have problems to follow up the patients. But here it is different because we always have ongoing contact, and even we have some more further study protocols where we work together in Germany. So we decided to ask 3 simple questions after 10 years. Are the patients alive or have they passed away? If so, when and why? Second question, was there any need for a second-line treatment after the first-line treatment inside the study? And third questions, have you observed any secondary malignancies in one of these patients? So 3 simple questions made it very easy for the doctors to answer, and therefore we have very reliable and good quality of data because these 3 questions were answered. So here I reported time to next treatment. 77 patients out of the 215 who were initially treated with bendamustine rituximab had a second-line treatment, and 109 in the CHOP-R group. So the curve for the interval time to next treatment is highly statistically significant better for the bendamustine rituximab treated group. So by far less patients needed a second-line treatment during their life. Again, reflecting that bendamustine rituximab has a very good control of the disease, even better than CHOP-R had in this study. And then we answered the second question, how many patients are alive? This is one of the very few studies which were initially done as a prospective trial reporting 10-year overall survival data. We can say 70% of the patients who were treated initially with bendamustine rituximab are alive after 10 years. And after CHOP-R, 66% are alive. Of course, this is not a statistically significant difference, so we have to say there is no difference in overall survival. 61 patients died in the BR arm and 70 patients died in the CHOP-R arm during that 10 years. Most of the patients who died are in the group who have not responded initially to the first-line treatment. This was only 9% of the patients, but out of this small group, 34 patients, 24 have died. So this is a very important reason for the death, what we have observed. Again, showing and confirming what everybody else found. When you have not responded as a patient to the first-line treatment, you have a very poor prognosis. And the other important message is that we have to explain our patients when they ask that question, what is my life expectancy? And then we always go back to what we have heard in the textbook of hematology or in some very old reviews, and we start to say, so the median survival is around 10, 12 years and so on. At least this is one very good piece of information now. In our prospective trial, we really can say if you are treated with BR or with CHOP-R, your life probability at 10 years is 70 or 66%. So far longer than the median. The median is probably at 15 years or even longer. So that's also a very valid and very meaningful observation. And then we ask for the secondary malignancy, because this is still debated. Is the old Bendamustine a factor for an increased incidence of secondary malignancies? In particular, you may think MDS or acute leukemia happens more often after treatment with Bendamustine. It was not the case in our study, and as I told in the beginning of this interview, this was the third question. Very easy. Was there a secondary malignancy or not? Still, if we don't get every data out of the community, the study sites, still it would be the same for both treatment arms. So I'm quite confident that I can report the data, and we reported 37 patients were reported to have a secondary malignancies after BR and 40 after CHOP-R. So we can conclude with BR there was no increased incidence for secondary malignancies. This was a little bit different to the abstract, which was the prior abstract when I was here presenting, because the American study, the prior trial, reported a higher incidence of secondary malignancies. However, they explained it that it was more the reason for squamous cell carcinoma of the skin and basal cell carcinoma. Usually no life-threatening diseases, but this was a signal in that study. Again, I have to say I have not seen that in our case report forms when we asked our doctors in Germany.
Fair enough. Well, then I suppose what we can do now is sit back and wait for 15-year data come ASCO 2022?
Probably the quality and type of information will not change. I don't think that there will be so much different information in 5 years from now. But yes, we will do it, absolutely, because we still have this good network and we can still keep on asking the doctors. And also we asked our study sites to report death of the patients even if we don't ask for it. So they will report it. And again, we will make another update. Yes, for sure. So again, we will address that question 5 years from now approximately for secondary malignancies, for overall survival and time to next treatment. But I think the main message, what I have shown today, I don't think this will be changed. There's no reason to believe that in 5 years from now it's very much different, that we have to open the chapter again. I don't think so. So I think with this 10 years results, it's very mature and very reliable data.